What's going on, public subscribers? Mike McFarland here, the Lake Fork Guide. Hey, listen, very sorry that we didn't get you a rundown yesterday. I have changed them to Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I forgot about a very important wedding yesterday that we had. One of my best friend's daughters was getting married, and it just was impossible to get everything done. Not enough light in the day, I guess, but no excuses. So I'm making sure that I come through for you today before the weekend. So here's the public report for April 14th, 2022. Let's talk about the board and the lake level. I did give you a report on Tuesday, and the lake level was 396.87 after the storm. Well, we had another big doozy storm come in, and it was a big one, and it was nasty. And I'm going to tell you some pretty sad things about it in just a little bit. But the lake started to rise again, 396.94 on Wednesday, 397.02 on Thursday, and 397.01, that kind of falling today. More stabilized today than falling. But the lake came up a good half an inch now in the past week. I'm sorry, half a foot in the past week. We're back to that 397 now, and we got more rain and more storms in the future. April's our good month. Hopefully we get a lot more. We need some flooding rain. The spawn is happening, and really the best thing that would happen right now is those fish are moving into the shallows, or moved into the shallows, and they start digging a nest and commit to the nest. If we can get another foot or two of water on them, they're even more protected. They won't relocate. It'll be really good for them. And then if it gets high enough, it gets into some of the shallow brush and cover. It's better for all of the fry. But lake's in good condition there. Clarity about the same that it's been, 0 to 1, 1 foot. It really depends on where you're at. Lots of winds, switching directions from the south for 2 days, from the north for a couple of days. But overall, again, another good Lake Fork green colors in most places. And then the last few days I went ahead, because we are starting to really look in the backwaters now. I'm giving you 2 sets of numbers. The main lake, 60 to 64, that has not changing. And then the backwaters, you're going to find anywhere from 65 to 70 degrees in the backwaters. I know there's a kayak tournament coming this week. You can get on those way in the backwaters, like Little Caney, or way up in Glade, way up in Birch Creek. Lots of fish to be caught in there. Lots of males are being caught. Texas rigs, small jigs, sea rigs, crankbaits, chatterbaits, all of those are producing in those areas. But look for the spawning flats. They're not as obvious anymore because we don't have the lily pad fields and things like that, and they're new. With a low lake of 6 feet, some of those areas that the fish are using aren't familiar to us, but the fish is never lost. They're just going to find new areas to do it. So look for some spawning flats, look for the backwater timber. Those are the places that you're really finding those spawning fish. All right, let's see if we can get up there without falling down. So that's the board. Lake levels, they're still low. It's still 6 feet low. So I'm going to remind you about the very best Lake Fork Super Trails right here, endorsed and used by the MLF anglers and the BASS Elite anglers. All right, this is the real deal. You can get it at Lake Fork Tackle Lures. Lake Fork Marina, the Lake Fork Marina Motel. You can get it at Fisherman's One Stop, and you can get it at Axton's. It's available for the Hummingbirds, both Helix and Solix, and it's available for the Lowrance. It's $60. It's the best $60 you can spend to keep your boat safe, keep you from bumping, especially when you're idling into the backwaters. They're really shallow right now. They're really dangerous, and you need to have something to get you in there. Lake Fork Super Trails, the best there is. All right. The weather outlook, man. This time of year we get these thunderstorms. They come and go a lot. In fact, the other day there was a horrific deal that happened here at Lake Fork. The rule of thumb is if you're on this lake and you hear kaboom, get out of the boat, get away from the lake. And I'm going to tell you something in a minute that two guys even did that here. They were out of the boat, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. The weather outlook over this weekend, tomorrow looks pretty good. The morning and stuff is 64 degrees, 83 degree high. But tomorrow night, afternoon and evening, more thunderstorms. Sunday, 80% chance of thunderstorms, 52 low, and a 74 high. And then next week, again, I want to tell you that it's pretty stable. But the other day, I was on a trip, and I watched the Doppler, and it looked like the weatherman said that the storm's going to break up before it gets to Lake Fork. And it did. It looked like it really did. The whole Doppler effect looked like it would die before it got to us. Well, it didn't. It just didn't. And all of a sudden, in a matter of 5 minutes, anyone that was on that lake was in a mad scramble to get off that lake. And unfortunately, we had to run for some cover, and I run back into Williams, and I went under a tin shack, and Brooke come flying around, driving right through lightning, right through the worst of the worst, and got into cover too, thank God. Know this first thing about Lake Fork, that when you're in a distress situation like that, none of those docks, none of those covers, privately owned, are off limits. That is a law from the Sabine River Authority. The shoreline here is leased back. You don't own it. Nobody owns the shoreline. And for emergency reasons like that, you can put your boat underneath whatever you need to and get safe. You can go ashore on those people's property and get the dang out of your boat. Okay? There's 2 men, unfortunately, from Iowa. And man, my heart really hurts for their family. But Dennis Tomlinson and his buddy were up in Glade, and the storm caught them. And they ran for cover, and they realized they couldn't make it in time, so they beached their boat. They got out of the boat, and unfortunately, Dennis was struck with lightning. It was a really sad week for Lake Fork. Madison Tomlinson sent me this message on the Facebook. It was her dad. Madison, I feel for you. I'm so sorry. My condolences go out to your family. You're supposed to be having a great time when you go fishing and have a vacation. And it's the last thing any of us want to hear, that we've lost a family member. So I lift you up. I lift your family up. And I certainly know that your father is in a better place, however, and looking down on you and your family as well. But guys, followers, 2 things I want to say. Number 1, please pray for the Tomlinson family. Comfort and peace. Condolences. And listen to me, man. I don't care where you are fishing. If you hear kaboom, lightning can strike within 10 miles of where the storm cell actually is. If you hear kaboom in the distance, it doesn't matter if it's faint. You better pay close attention. And you better think about getting into cover, and not just ashore, and not just out of the boat. The other thing is if you're going to put faith in any of the weatherman today or any of these weather apps, it's not smart. They are terrible. And I know it's not fair to say that, because the weather is very difficult to predict. And in these parts, Arkansas and Oklahoma and Texas, they have that saying, if you don't like the weather, stick around 5 minutes, it's going to change. But I think when it comes to something like that, that someone should be held accountable. And they should be able to produce a much better report than they do throughout any app. There's not an app out there. In fact, a few hours after the lightning strike, another cell came through that was never predicted. In fact, it wasn't even acknowledged that it existed. And it knocked out the entire front glass of Lake Fork Resort, the tackle shop, one of the best tackle shops in the lake. And it rolled a camper with 2 senior citizens in it. In fact, the lady broke her ankle and her leg. The husband was blood from head to toe. If you can imagine sitting peacefully in your fifth wheel and something that fast rolls you 360 degrees. Thank God it rolled it all the way over and put it upright. It wasn't on its side, it wasn't upside down. But these 2 poor folks went through a horror story. Today, we actually have their dog. Their dog's named Jerry Lee. But we witnessed this, and we did everything we could to help. So 2 days ago was a horrible day for Lake Fork and the Lake Fork community. I lift up all those that were involved in the pain and the bad staking, but I also lift up all the officers that I saw and all of the paramedics and everybody that came racing to the rescue, and all they do, thanks to all of those that care and give such good heart. So the dog we have, his name's Jerry Lee. He's pretty cool. He's doing okay. And I believe the owner's going to come get the dog back today. His wife has had 1 surgery. She's going in next Tuesday for the 2nd surgery. The reason I'm sharing this stuff with you is I want you to take heart to being extra cautious in these thunderstorms. Don't let it be you. Don't let it be your family that has to go through the pain and sorrow. Be smart, okay? All right, let's talk about the bite. Let's talk about some good stuff. The bite is awesome on fork right now. Listen, I'm not going to share this time exactly what, but I'm going to tell you the jig bite, the Texas rig bite, and the sea rig bite is really good. In the backwaters, fishing those spawning flats, fishing some of those timber and laydowns and stumps, cover some water, you should be able to find and catch some fish. Crankbait bite on the points. Man, it's off the chain. Brooke and I, in 1 hour this morning, caught almost 30 fish. It was a blast, absolute blast. We had doubles at the same time, over and over again. It was just amazing bite right now on Lake Fork. They really haven't spawned yet. I've caught only a few fish that are post-spawn, but the bite is incredible, all right? If that's not enough for you and you do want to know exactly what that bite is, I'm fixing to do a members-only private session here next. I'm going to go through the rods, the line, the exact baits, the exact colors, and not only that, how I fish those baits, the pace, the style, and I'm going to use what I call the rule of three, which is taught to me by Mr. Mark Pack, one of my great friends, one of my mentors in Christ. He used to send me Christian messages every single day, right up until the day he passed. And so we're going to use the rule of three in our members only today to dial people in, you guys, if you're subscribed, to the right areas of the lake. Remember, there's 330 miles of shoreline, 39 miles at its two longest points. If you're fishing the wrong area, that's probably why you're not catching fish. The rule of three will put you in the proper section. And I give you this, spill my guts. I'm going to tell you exactly what Brooke and I caught all these fish on this morning. So that's your invite, members only. Hit the join button below to the members only channel. Follow the instructions. It's pretty easy to do. $4.99 a month. Simple subscription. If you haven't subscribed to the regular public, I ask that you subscribe now. If you are subscribed, you're enjoying this, hit the thumbs up, give me the like button, comment below. Ask any questions you may have. I'll do the best to answer them. And I appreciate you all. I'm going to leave you with one last thing. I have very few trips available in May. There's a few openings in May. May is one of my favorite times because we start moving offshore. And we really can teach you a lot. If you don't know how to find those offshore structures, those offshore trees, or those offshore deep shell beds, they do exist. Then book me with May. I think I've only got 5 or 6 days left for the whole month. It carries into June. But that's an invite to fish with the Lake Fork guide, me, Mike McFarland, McFarland Fishing. And I believe Brooke might be ready for a trip or two. I'd prefer to have maybe 2 boats together, maybe 4 guys, 2 boats. But we might throw her out there and let her guide a little bit in May as well. And so I wish you all great fishing. And this Sunday, I also wish you a very happy Easter.